Hi, uh, happy World of the Dance Day, or World Dance Day, or World Day of the Dance. Um, so I saw this little film on YouTube with several female dancers giving her their testimony and sharing some things about the dance. So I thought that that would be a great idea to do it also. And so there was some questions, so I'm just going to answer these questions as a way of sharing my experience as a dancer in, well, now I'm in India, but I'm from Portugal, and most of my education was in Portugal. And I am not an Indian classical dancer. I learned a little bit of Kuriatam, which is not a dance form. It is a theater form. It's Sanskrit theater. But I did do some workshops of many of the Indian classical dances. But I am a professional contemporary dancer, and I also teach Western classical dance. So, yeah, and dance is universal. So I think mm, uh, it is it is beautiful to be able to share about my experience as a dancer and choreographer and dance practitioner here. So they answered some questions. So the first question was, did dance choose me? Well, being a man, or at that time being a boy, um, it is a little bit harder to be chosen by dance, because if women, and both in India or in the West, um, if little girls, they automatically are put in dance class. In Portugal, for instance, I was in school, and in school there was ballet for the girls and karate for the boys. So the boys, we had the option to do martial arts, but not ballet. So of course, and my parents never asked me if I prefer to do one or the other, but probably I would have said that I would prefer to do karate, because I didn't want to be the only boy in a dance class. That I was many years later, I was the only boy, even in the Superior School of Dance. That is the let's say it is a University of Dance in Lisbon. I was the only boy for 3 years. So, well, the only man, because I was already over 18. But so there was this thing that society does not find appropriate for a little boy to do dance, unfortunately. That is the big reality in the West, even today. Uh, of course, now there are other forms of dance. At that time, there was ballet and maybe some modern dance or jazz classes. That that was how I started my dance education, with jazz, and then I was at the end of the year. There is a performance with all the students, and actually I only danced one choreography because I was a beginner, and there was other jazz choreographies, but they were done only by the girls, and I was the only boy. So I did watch the full performance, all the little performance, since the little ones doing ballet until the bigger ones doing what was Sleeping Beauty, some excerpts of the classical ballet of the Sleeping Beauty. And I was just mesmerized. I said, I want to do that. And the day after that, well, or when it was that I went back to the school, the dance school, I enrolled for ballet class also. And I started doing seriously. At that time, it was in a small, in the small school, neighborhood school, in the upstairs floor of the firefighters. That is a very common thing in Portugal, at least. There's a lot of dance studios on the second floor. They have like a kind of all kind of multi-purpose room, and usually dance teachers rent that space. So that was the case. So this beautiful South African teacher, Norma Kroner, was her name, or is her name, because I believe she's still alive. I hope so. She was an amazing, strong woman, and she started teaching me. She had started teaching me jazz dance, and then she started also teaching ballet. And she allowed me to come sometimes to the not the little ones, but the medium that had a little bit of technique already of ballet, so to practice, to be able to catch up, because of course I could not follow the students, the other girls that had my age, that was 16, 17 years old, because they had been studying ballet since they were maybe 4, 5, 6 years old. So, and that was amazing, and I just decided that I wanted to do that professionally. I just wanted to specify actually that how I came into dance, because although I remember very clearly that I was probably more interested in doing ballet than in doing karate in my primary school, I remember also one day there was a ballet, a classical ballet passing on TV, and I was alone at home, so I just put the music as loud as possible. It was on TV, so it was not a very big thing. It's not like today that you can put all the hi-fi's things. So I just put the sound maximum on the TV, and I just danced in the living room, because no one was watching, and so no one was there. And years later, when I was probably 15, 16 years old, 16, I was in high school, and one of my friends, she was doing a dance exhibition for a couple of girls. So, you know, when we are in high school, there are like packs of girls and boys. And so she was performing, doing some jazz movements of a choreography that she was learning at her dance school to some of our colleagues. And I understood that she was doing that also because it would be great if these colleagues would join the school, no? That they could join jazz dance class in the school. And actually, no one did. I did. I joined the school. And so this is how I started. And I have to thank Silvia Vicente. She was the one who introduced me to dance. And right away, I was completely convinced that I wanted to do that, because since my first classes of dance, I started listening to music and I started imagining choreographies. So when I finished 12th standard, I applied to Superior School of Dance and Superior School of Theatre in Lisbon. And I didn't get in theater. I did get into dance with the lowest of the ranks. Like, you are accepted, but it's just in the limit of not accepted. because I just had practiced, like I think I had started dance 2 years before that, and in my 12th standard, I started practicing dance every day. So I would go to the Companhia de Dança de Lisboa, the Lisbon Dance Company. They had open classes, and so I started doing, like, I think it was 3 days a week it was classical ballet, and 2 days a week it was modern dance. And so I entered, but I had almost no experience. And of course, there's an interview, and they asked me, "So, why do you want to come to the dance school?" And I said, "Because I want to be a choreographer. I know that I'm too old, and well, with 16 or 18 years old, you're not too old. You're never too old to dance. But the thing is, to do professionally dance, it is deemed that you cannot start very late. Of course, boys are an exception, but there is examples of boys like Nacho Duato, a great dancer and choreographer from Spain, who also started doing dance at 16 or something like that. But he was a guy who was very physical. I was not. I was the kind of boy that would play with his animals and sit and read and do things like that. That I was really not a physical person. So it was a big surprise, of course, even for me, to be attracted to this very physical discipline, let's say. And so, yeah, I did that. And I realized very quickly that although I loved classical ballet, my body was not good for it, because I am short and I am more stocky. It's a family trait, so genetically I am not very slim and with very long limbs. My classical teacher in the Superior School of Dance would say that I have very short arms. So actually you need to be slim, not very tall, but well, for men it's rather better to be tall. But anyway, in Portugal we are not a very tall people. So, but taller than the women, at least it's best to be, because if you have to do things with the women, it's a little bit more complicated not to be able to be too short, no? But so I don't have these long limbs that are required, and this the long limbs, what they do is they give this aesthetical view of classical ballet, the lines of classical ballet, of arabesque and all these beautiful things, no? So, and actually I am a very muscular person, and so I would develop too much muscle, which was not good for me to have better flexibility. So I had my first contemporary dance teacher that it was not in the Superior School of Dance, because at that time in the Superior School of Dance there was no contemporary dance. There was classical, modern dance, modern Graham, and then of course the choreographies were all kind of neoclassical. And because of course the director of the discipline of choreography, he was the artistic director, and no, not artistic director, the main choreographer of Ballet Gulbenkian. So Vasco Vellenkam, he was completely into the neoclassical thing. So when, for instance, it happened that I would do something that was much more about the expression of the arms, moving the arms, he would say, "Oh, that's theater, that is not dance." Because for him, dance is when you do pirouettes, when you lift your leg high and do this kind of things, that it's proper from classical ballet. So, but then I had the chance to encounter the person who I even say, although we don't use that word in the West, but I say he is my contemporary dance guru. That is Peter Michael Dietz. He's a Danish dancer, performer, choreographer, teacher, with an amazing physicality and he never, well, he did some ballet class, but he was not trained in ballet. His body also came from sports. So, and this man, one day he approached me. Well, it was the first professional choreography that I danced. It was a choreography that he did for the company of Almada, where I danced for several years. And he, one day he approached, also with the Companhia de Dança de Almada, with the dance company of Almada. We were trained every day. Our daily class was 3 days, usually 3 days a week, classical ballet, and 2 days a week contemporary, or sometimes it was the inverse. So anyway, so he was also one of the main teachers that we had at the time, and he one day he told me, Denise, you should stop doing ballet. It's not good for your body. And he was completely right, because I was developing such hips that was, well, of course, people say it's very beautiful legs, yeah, but it was too much in force. And even later in my career, I started having knee problems, not because I would jump on my knees, that maybe also, but because my muscles, my not hips, sorry, my upper leg muscles, now I don't remember, the thigh muscles, they were so strong that they were pulling the rotula of my knees inside. So that was not a good thing. So I had to learn how to mark things and not do things so strongly, because that is the way I am. No, I work. Everything is very strong. So, but let's go into another question. Does dance give me happiness? Yes, it gives me happiness. So I moved away from this dancey thing of coming back to something that I think it's very important. I realized years later that my attraction to dance, it has a connection to what I was about to say. It has a connection with my mother. My mother did dance. My mother is deaf, but she did ballet for some years, and it seems that she was very gifted. But of course, she was a deaf dancer, and of course, at that time it was like a big thing. But at the same time, my family was a good family. My mother's family was a good family, and so at some point she gave up. She had some problems because she had problems in her back, so she had pain in her back, so ballet was not the greatest thing for her. But actually it's not because of my mother's dance experience that I get this dance thing from my mother. I get it from her because she's deaf and she speaks and she reads lips, so she does not do sign language. So I cannot speak currently sign language with another deaf person. I can do some mimes, some mimics, but I don't know. I know A, B, C, D and these things and 1, 2, 3, but not enough to learn to have a conversation. But I did. The fact that the gesture was something from my mother and something from my mother's universe that I really loved. So for me, the gesture, the movement was communication. And so I really decided that I went to dance because I wanted to communicate something. And so, and the people don't know me when I talk about dance, I always say I don't like to see this just beautiful abstract dances where people dance, 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 and there's no meaning. That for me is a little bit empty. I need to have something, and I don't believe in abstract dance because that will be like a teacher that I had, a very funny teacher from the United States that I had many years ago. She would say that abstract dance is like a fridge dancing with a washing machine. So that does not interest me. That is interesting maybe for I don't know what. But when two people dance or one people dance, he or she is dancing with a body that expresses emotions, that expresses who they are. Even if they don't want to, if they want to do something without expression, it is impossible. It is human.